Thank you very much. So, how are you feeling today? Good. Had a good lunch? Great. Right, so I'm happy to be on the TEDx stage and speak to you all about a different perspective on life. So I've named my speech as Not Every Wrong Turn is Wrong. Excuse me. Is it okay? Right, okay. How many of you all have heard about Louis Armstrong? Any show of hands? Great. I can see one raising hands. So he was a little boy back in New Orleans, grew up in poverty, but one day he did a childish mistake. Does anybody know what was the childish mistake he did? So on a New Year's Eve, with the great excitement that was coming around the neighborhood, firecrackers going and people are enjoying, he also wanted to join that celebration. And then he took his stepdad's rifle and put it in the air. And unfortunately, this was seen by a police officer, and then he was sent to a reform school. Many of you may think that was his end of life. But fortunately, there, he learned to play the cornet. And today, he has become one of the great musicians, especially in the genre of jazz. Likewise, life will take you to different turns. Sorry. Right. Music, like life, doesn't demand perfection. I'm pretty sure many of you here are great musicians, or great musicians in the making. And when you sing or when you perform, there's a tendency that you would hit a wrong note, a wrong pitch. But what happens is you just sing your performance or the song that you're singing right away. You adjust the mistake in between, and then you complete that performance. It's just not for music, not just for musical performance, but even in a sport or any curriculum that you do. There's a greater tendency for imperfections in life to happen. Life for anyone would be like that. My dear friends, you're still in school, but there's a lot of life left for you all to live. And in that life, things will unfold where you will realize this was a mistake that I did, but there's always a track that you all can come back to. My own wrong turns in life. I understand you all had a brief introduction about myself, but I'll also take you all through what I do right now. So I was also a person like you, went to an international school, who was aiming to become a scientist, work at NASA, perhaps. And then later on, when I entered the teenage, I wanted to join a company, be in the corporate world. But everything turned a different facet. Today, I've embraced my family business, which is into pottery, and I'm doing that. I'm making innovations, taking pottery into different turns. That dream of becoming a scientist when I was a child, or rather, joining the corporate career, being a CEO, being a CFO, was no more in my life. Sometimes life takes you in different routes. Sometimes we call this the destiny, the fate, but actually, all of us have a pre-written life story. And nevertheless, we are meant to live that in either of the way. I'm also involved in social enterprise divisions, where I work for a social enterprise in the country. There we work with a lot of disabled entrepreneurs, then we are involved in conducting researches. A lot of that work is taken towards the benefit of the society. Also, as a hobby, I'm involved with writing. I'm a freelance writer. I was a journalist back then. And also, as my musical hobby, I'm involved with a choir called Speranza. In that way, my life has taken a different turn. And today, that girl who wanted to become a scientist and join NASA is an entrepreneur back in Sri Lanka. My dear friends, Improvisation is growth. Every wrong turn in my life has taught me that I have to keep going, the resilience in me. I'm pretty sure some of you all have a dream to become an entrepreneur one day. I'll tell you for sure, entrepreneur is a very challenging aspect in life. However, it teaches you a lot of things. It takes you from point zero, from point A to Z. Sometimes you are the overall performer in your business. You're involved in doing finance, selling, marketing, administration, production, and the list goes on. Sometimes you're the only sole player in your business, and you get that overall challenging experiences to your life. Maybe when you are involved in a job, in a corporate career, you're only destined to do one particular job, and you specialized in it. But when you become an entrepreneur, you get an overall 360 degrees idea of how to run a business, how to make it grow, how to deal with customers. And that experience is something that you cannot get just by doing one particular job in a particular company. And that experience teaches you a lot of things in life. Even in your life, right now you're just schooling. And you all may have different dreams to reach one day. I want to become an AI evangelist, AI engineer, a doctor, and the list goes on. But I'll tell you surely, good to have dreams, good to keep dreaming. But when life happens, and when you see the life ball is rolling in front of you, you will realize, no, this is not the path that I want to go. With the consequences and the circumstances you are going around in your life that time, you will tend to take different decisions, different turns in your life. And that's totally okay. As you go along in that path, if you feel like, maybe this is not what I should be doing, then it's always okay for you all to come back to the track you all always wanted. We do not have to live according to the norms or the standards the society has set for us. That's a big no. This life you have is for you, and it's just once. You all won't have another life. So for this life, be as creative as much as possible. Just like when you're performing, if you make a mistake, you come back to the proper track. You come back to the harmony. Even in life, if you make a mistake, you can always come back. You can always make things new. Louis Armstrong once actually said, if you have to ask what jazz is, you'll never know. Because not every path needs to make sense right now. Sometimes you just have to keep playing to hear the harmony later. That we feel right now as adults. You're yet to reach that stage. Sometimes when you live along in this life, you tend to realize, what am I doing with this life? Am I doing the right thing? Am I just wasting my time? I tend to compare with my peers. And that peer pressure, I assure you, is very challenging. But I come back to my point once again. This life is yours. And however you intend to live it is your solemn decision. So there's no need for any other person to say, no, you should live your life like this. You should be able to make decisions about your life according to your own determination. You are the only person who knows what's best for your life. Just like when you're performing something, if you do not feel it in your nerves and sinews, and you live in that song, you don't get the real beauty of that performance. You all have seen a lot of performance artists singing songs, and sometimes the voice that they sing the song is really felt, and that is because they live in that song. Similarly, in this life, you have to enjoy it in every bit of the way. Sometimes you tend to think, no, my peer is doing better, but I just don't understand what I'm doing with my life right now. But that's the point where you try to degrade yourself, because the journey you have come so far is very rewarding. And when you look back at your career and think, I've actually done this in my life. This happens to me. My peers, they're doing well in their life. They're doing great jobs, earning huge salaries. Some are married, living beautiful lives with kids. And I'm here still trying to recollect my life, trying to build a brand, trying to build a business. Sometimes I tend to think, what am I thinking about my life? What am I doing with my life? But then again, it comes to my mind, no, this is the life that I want to live. I'm enjoying every bit of it. I'm making creative things. I'm innovating. And that's where my happiness is. What matters is, you need to do what makes you happy in life. Okay, so maybe like Louis Armstrong, that childish mistake he did once made him a great musician. Y'all will also encounter a lot of mistakes in life. It could be very small mistakes or very massive mistakes, but doesn't matter. Because all the mistakes can be turned towards the good. It can lead you to a path that will ultimately lead you to who you need to be in life. It will take you towards that scenic route, which will take you to a greater life. And at the end of the life, when you have lived your good life, you will look back and think, I've done it. I've enjoyed every bit of it. And that's what matters. No matter what you do in life, no matter the job you do in life, no matter who you are, no matter where you work, at the end of your life, when you're going to give up that final breath, you need to recollect and think, did I live my life? And if you feel like you have, that's what matters.